all talking about women power. Political parties like the Trinamool Congress, the Congress Party, all of them are announcing grand scheme and promises for women as far as state elections goes. Whether it's in Goa we talked about, whether it was in West Bengal, and a clear focus is on the Trinamool Congress and the Congress Party. Now when I talk about women power, I also talk about the women in politics, and this week we are going to be focusing on the Trinamool Congress. I'm Pallavi Ghosh, and my this week's One Take is also asking this question in the context of the video which has gone viral of Mahua Moitra, the Krishnanagar Member of Parliament from the Trinamool Congress, who was publicly rebuked by Mamata Banerjee. Essentially, there has been a good performance by the BJP in the Nadia district where her constituency falls. And the reason which is being attributed to is the infighting within the Trinamool Congress in this particular district between two segments. One is which are the supporters of Mohua, who is the Member of Parliament from there, and the other person is that of Jayanta Saha. And many YouTubes and protests went viral, and there was this objection raised and allegation raised against Jayanta Saha that there was embezzling which was taking place and funds were actually being siphoned off. Now all of this went public. It was proved to be embarrassing for the Trinamool Congress, and at that public meeting, which you can see in that interaction between Mamata Banerjee and Jayanta Saha is in the audience and Mahua Moitra is sharing the stage with her, Mamata Banerjee actually ticks off Mohua and says,
আর মহুয়া এখানে আমি একটা স্পষ্ট মেসেজ দিতে চাই, কে কার পক্ষে বিপক্ষে দেখার আমার দরকার নেই। আমি সাজিয়ে গুজিয়ে কিছু লোক পাঠিয়ে ইউটিউবে অথবা ডিজিটালে অথবা পেপারকে দিয়ে দিলাম, এই রাজনীতি একদিন চলতে পারে, চিরদিন নয়। আর একই লোক চিরদিন এক জায়গায় থাকবে এটাও ঠিক মেনে নেওয়াটাও ঠিক নয়। আর যখন ইলেকশন হবে পার্টি উইল ডিসাইড কে কন্টেস্ট করবে না করবে।
Essentially what she was talking about is those YouTube links, footage, digital stories which went viral, which spoke about this embezzling of funds in Nadia district and pinpointing a finger at Jayanta Saha. Many had protested also outside the multiple offices of the Trinamool Congress in the Nadia district, and it was believed that they were actually supporters of Mohua. Mohua was sitting quietly on stage and with nodding her head sheepishly, but getting the message from Mamata Banerjee that she would have to follow the party's orders and that of Mamata Banerjee. Now those who know Mahua Moitra do know her as a very, very articulate and an intelligent speaker. An investment banker, that's been her profession. She was at one point of time also associated with the Congress Party. She contested for the first time from the TMC in 2019. And since then, she has become the voice and one of the most aggressive voices of the Trinamool Congress in the Lok Sabha. From taking on the Prime Minister directly to the BJP, accusing it of being barbaric, accusing it of also being despotic. You know, Mahua Moitra was someone who has grabbed eyeballs. Interestingly, even at a time when the opposition has put these kind of blame and allegations against the government that Lok Sabha has deliberately downed the audio of opposition leaders, if there was 1 decibel which was high in Lok Sabha, it was always of Mahua Moitra. Now those who know her also know her as a fun-loving, witty kind of a speaker, someone who speaks extremely well, and there's no doubts about that. A dog lover. You have to look at her WhatsApp status and you will see her putting up pictures of her pet dog and where she's feeding him and where she's playing with him, and it is very, very clear that she loves those private moments with her pet. At this point of time, she's also been made in charge of the Trinamool Congress in Goa. Many read this as her being sidelined by getting her out of the mainstream politics. See, there are many conspiracy theories behind the rebuke of Mahua Moitra by Mamata Banerjee. In fact, the BJP has gone on record to say that in the next Lok Sabha elections, Mahua will have to contest from the BJP. That is because she cannot survive the Trinamool Congress anymore. Mamata Banerjee does not like competition, neither for herself nor for her nephew Abhishek Banerjee. Now, as we all know, Abhishek Banerjee is also a member of Parliament inside, and he's very much there in Lok Sabha, and he's for all practical purposes one would say the Rahul Gandhi of the TMC, the heir apparent, someone who's taking the key decisions, and someone around whom a coterie is developing, but also who is also now emerged as a parallel power center to Mamata Banerjee. Now the BJP's claim is, and the reading of political observers, is that Mamata Banerjee does not want any competition for Abhishek Banerjee. Mahua Moitra could emerge as that competition because she speaks very well. Her power of oration is considered to be something which grabs the eyeballs of not just the opposition parties but also of the BJP as well. And this could be a kind of a competition to Abhishek Banerjee. So the conspiracy theory is that behind that public rebuke by Mamata Banerjee was actually a concern that her nephew should not be sidelined. And therefore, Mahua has actually been removed from the mainstream politics, shifting her base to Goa, where she's going to be in charge. The other conspiracy theory is that, despite the fact that Mamata Banerjee is going to Goa and they are talking about providing an alternative to the BJP there, and also announcing many schemes for women as well, hoping to tap in on the women voters, also inducting high-profile personalities from Goa, whether it was Leander Paes, whether it's Nafisa Ali, or hobnobbing with Remo Fernandez or Lucky Ali. The Trinamool Congress is unlikely to make a political dent as far as Goa is concerned. And therefore, you shift the focus to Mahua Moitra, you send her over there, and if the Trinamool Congress does not win from there, the blame will come on someone like Mahua, and that will downsize her. Did Mamata Banerjee also try to send out a message to Mahua that please don't take it for granted that you are going to get the next Lok Sabha ticket from Krishnanagar itself? The party will decide and she's going to decide and Abhishek Banerjee is decide. Now, to understand the whole being of Mahua Moitra, now, at one point of time I remember there was a huge demand that she should actually be inducted into the Congress party big time, and especially when the Congress party was emerging in that social media context. When that clear march was taken by the BJP, the Congress party wanted to make its presence felt on the social media space. I remember there are some people who are very close to Rahul Gandhi in his office who felt that Mahua should actually have been a part of the Congress and she should also have been made in charge of the social media department because she's extremely witty. Her tweets are very profound, very prolific, and I think that was also what Mamata Banerjee was actually taking a dig at. So it was felt within the Congress party that a Mahua Moitra would come in handy. In fact, even today, at many of the private functions of some Congress leaders, whether it's with Shashi Tharoor, whether it's with Jaiveer Shergill, you find Mahua to be a part of that. You also find Mahua actually having a very good equation with the Congress leaders, despite the fact that there's a lot of bitterness between the TMC and the Congress. Of late, if there's been one instance where the TMC's Mohua has taken on the Congress party, it is of course that of Mr. Chidambaram, and that is because Chidambaram is in charge of Goa state elections. And therefore, one can understand this kind of an acrimony between Mahua and Mr. Chidambaram. It's got nothing to do with the fact that Mahua may not have a good equation with the rest of the Congress party. She does. In fact, I do know this for a fact that she also interacts very intimately and very often with some people who are very much a part of Rahul Gandhi's coterie, who are a part of his office as well. Does that mean that she's going to join the Congress at some point of time? Well, it does not make sense at all in the context of the Bengal politics because the Congress is a complete washout there. Second, just because there are Congress leaders joining the TMC and the Congress would want some from the TMC to join them doesn't mean someone like a high-profile Mahua would actually join the Congress party. But then again, I could be wrong because that's what politics is all about. Now, it's interesting that the BJP leader said that, our arms are open for Mahua. She can come and join us and contest the elections next time round. Obviously, they are trying to stoke trouble and they're going to take advantage of the fact that Mamata Banerjee has publicly rebuked Mahua. Now, that's as far as Mahua is concerned. There are pictures on her Instagram account, on to her Twitter account, and that of Congress leaders where she meets them up for a cup of coffee or, a winter meal or a lunch or a dinner and so on and so forth. She also grabbed a lot of attention, if you remember, when she alleged that there were security officials who were deliberately parked outside her residence in the national capital to keep a watch on her. One cannot forget that visual where she actually walks out in the dead of the night wearing a dressing gown, saying that, I had to get up and come out because I was being snooped upon. This is something which many in the TMC feel where Mamata Banerjee is not very comfortable with. Her focus is clearly on taking on the BJP. In fact, when I did ask a senior TMC leader that why was she rebuked by Mamata Banerjee, the response I got was, forget it, let's focus on defeating the BJP. Mamata Banerjee and Abhishek Banerjee are very clear about one thing, that they have national ambitions, they have a national goal, and it's the duo which are going to try and achieve it. And they don't want to change the attention or focus away from that. There is a feeling that many of them have, and especially Mamata Banerjee and Abhishek Banerjee have, is that Mahua Moitra, with her public tweets or stance, often actually detract attention, something which can actually help the BJP and take away the focus from their real fight, and their real fight is actually against the BJP. That could also explain why she was publicly rebuked and where the message has been sent out to her that you may be high profile, you may be an excellent speaker, you may be having a lot of fan following, but over here you're just another TMC leader and member of parliament. Now this brings us back to the kind of party structure within the Trinamool Congress. Actually, not very surprisingly, it's not very different from the Congress party, because that's really where the genesis of the TMC has come in from. Now in the Congress party, they may talk about democracy, but we know the buck stops with the Gandhis. Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi Vatra. As far as the Trinamool Congress goes, now it's Mamata Banerjee and then it is Abhishek Banerjee. I know there will be denials coming in from the TMC. They will be saying that we are not like the Congress party. But the fact remains is that in a personality-driven political party, like say a Congress, like say even a BSP at one point of time, and now the Trinamool Congress, but naturally the personality reigns supreme. And in this case, no one can be accepted as someone who can become an alternative, possibly in future, to say a Mamata Banerjee or to an Abhishek Banerjee. And in a woman-centric party like the TMC, certainly Mamata Banerjee would not want another woman to become a competition to her or become more powerful or perhaps even grab more of an attention than her. Of course, the Trinamool Congress has the largest number of leaders who belong to the women gender. They've also sent the maximum number of leaders from as women to both the Lok Sabha, to Rajya Sabha, and also as far as the state assembly goes. The maximum ticket distribution to women has actually come in from the Trinamool Congress. The Kanyashi scheme is something which is now being aped by many other political parties. Huge amount of money is also being given to women voters, not just in West Bengal but also in Goa and other states where the TMC wants to make its foray. But I think it stops at that. There is a Lakshman Rekha which has been drawn for most of the women leaders within the Trinamool Congress, and the clear-cut messaging to them that, you know, only one woman matters, and that's Mamata Banerjee. You know, look at her body language. When she was sitting on stage, she was holding the mic, she was actually talking to the arch rival of Mahua Moitra, who was sitting right behind her. She was talking to Joyanta Saha and asking him that, tell me, was there a conspiracy? And Joyanta Saha stands up to say, yes, madam, someone actually played mischief. To which Mamata Banerjee reacts by saying, I have found out who's responsible. I have used the ADG and all the state police services to find out who's responsible for it. So clearly Mahua Moitra was given a very, very curt message. But I think there's a larger message beyond it. That in TMC, one woman matters, which is what I was talking about. And also the fact that no one else can be allowed to emerge as a counter or as a competition to even Abhishek Banerjee, and certainly not in Lok Sabha. But will that keep Mahua Moitra down? I don't think so, because you know she has her friends in the right places, and also her focus is now going to be on Goa. If the Trinamool Congress is able to do well in Goa, possibly win even 1 or 2 seats and even more, then I think she would be able to redeem herself. Otherwise, the messaging is very clear, not just to her, but to other women leaders within the TMC and also the other leaders in the TMC, that we are not actually very different from the Congress party. Over here, the Banerjees matter. They are the ones who are going to call the shots. You have to work like any other political leader in the party, and your goal should be taking on the BJP and not self-promotion. More than anyone else, Mamata Banerjee understands that this is what is the undoing of the Congress party. She wouldn't want that mistake to be made in her party. Certainly not when she nurtures national ambitions. But more importantly, she would not want anyone to develop as a counter to her and also to her very obvious heir apparent, Abhishek Banerjee. Do give us your reactions. What do you think about the Mohua factor? Do you think her rebuke was genuine, was called for, or do you think that she was being cut down to size? And do you think someone as articulate and someone who does not believe in mincing her words cannot be cowed down for long? Thank you so much for watching. Do give us your reactions.